Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Rainmaker Stories. Today I'm in conversation with Asha Pillai. Hi Asha, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, hi. Thanks for having me. I live
So,
in a very busy household, so you might hear some background noise.
oh,
I
that's
can't tell
okay.
everyone to shut up. But it's okay. I hope.
It's okay. More the merrier. We're making it a natural sort of a conversation. And
All
for
right.
audience, Asha is a senior finance leader. She is still working with Shell for over 15 years now. I came to in touch with Asha through Lead Club, and I found her so passionate about all things to do with, managing your work life, women at the workplace. She conducts these very interesting vision boarding exercises that I also had the opportunity of being a part of. And I decided this Women's Day, let's get in a conversation with Asha. I've always found her very interesting and value additive, and let's spread it to our audience. So, Asha, I hope you're ready for the conversation we're about to have.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for having me. What an honor.
So, let's start with your journey as a finance leader. So, Asha, it's a field where we still see not many women in leadership roles. So, any highlights and challenges you may want to share with us, like both highlights and lowlights, what you've seen in the industry, and what sort of an evolution you've seen in the space.
So I don't want to restrict it to finance because we talk a lot about STEM, we talk about finance, etc. But ultimately, all women go through women at the workplace, deal with the leaky pipeline, and the corporates deal with the leaky pipeline, and for women in the workplace, we see three trucks. So one is sort of the marriage, maternity, mobility piece. The second is elderly family care, which can happen at any point, and then where the women's career becomes a first casualty, and the third is essentially to do with sort of senior women in India in specific, helping children go through their board exams to their college. So if you have two children, you've lost about 5 years, so that's a leaky pipeline for you. The other is sort of the issue around, can you give me a second? Sorry, I Yeah, the other piece is around the biases. We've got the bias of the double bind, where if there's likability, if they're seen as likable and friendly, they're not seen as competent. If they're
Mm.
seen as sort of competent, they're seen as assertive. I don't think there's any woman who's not been called aggressive at some point in their lives, right? So the bias, the second is the prove it again bias.
Mm.
Again, an unconscious bias where men are sort of spotted as talent based on potential, women are spotted on talent based on their experience, and they've got to prove it time and time and time
Right.
again. So multiple biases that women deal with, and I don't think it's not conscious. Good human beings, good people, sort of carry these biases because we all are from the same socio-cultural context, right?
Right.
And that includes women to other women as well, because we are also from the same socio-cultural fabric.
Mm.
So those are the two things that sort of uh, are an impediment for women at the workplace to thrive and survive and sort of reach their ultimate potential. But
Yeah.
what's going well, I think, is sort of the start of the pipeline. So we see that now with education, most colleges have 50 to 55% women graduating, and
Mm.
invariably women seem to do better than boys when it comes to academics.
Mm.
So when at the start of their careers, you're able to infuse a lot more women into the workplace. So that hopefully over time will help mitigate the leaky pipeline that we are seeing.
Yeah.
Because the organization structure is a pyramid, but the talent pool of women also becomes a pyramid, right? So it becomes even more difficult to kind of see the diversity. The third thing is with India, I think the Economist wrote an article on why India fails its women. It's seen as a, sort of a factor of upward social mobility when women are not working in their homes.
Mm.
And that's a real impediment. So we're very fortunate to have sort of, affordable domestic help, even joint family setups, parents chipping in to take care of kids, etc. But because of this, there are a lot less women in the workplace because, the families pull them out of the workplace the moment they see that,
Mm,
they're fairly prosperous.
right.
The flip side to that is, I believe women need to be financially independent.
Mm,
Uh, and it's also, diversifying your portfolio. Uh, in this kind of economy, there are people losing jobs. So the spouses, can lose jobs, right? And then
right.
single earners, there's so much pressure on the men, one. Two, we also see a lot more younger
Mm,
men passing away, men and women passing away in their 40s due to heart attacks for various reasons. And therefore, then, it immediately sort of takes the family to the lower tax bracket.
right.
So there are several reasons they should stay in the workplace, but because of all of this, they don't as well.
Yeah. And your the points that you raised are so relevant, Asha. When I was researching for the book too, it's like as many as 48% women are starting out in the knowledge in the white collar jobs, but as you go up the pipeline, less than 5% make it to the C suite, for instance. And the maximum attrition, you rightly pointed out, happens in those middle management years, which coincides with your childbearing years, or when you're just raising a family and you get all that added responsibilities added onto you. And you're like bang on there that we as like organizations that we all are a part of, or as we progress in our careers, we need to sort of make sure that the younger generation doesn't face the same challenges that we faced, and maybe have all those policies and stuff not just formulated but implemented to the T as well, so that no women is feeling conscious that, oh, I'm at that age, will it affect my career, will I go out of the workforce and stuff. So bang on that, and I hope we continue to make longer strides in the field. In fact, this takes me to the next question, Asha. And I've of course followed you on LinkedIn as well, and I've seen how vocal you are about mental well-being, or in particular bipolar disorder, and how you work towards spreading awareness for it as well. I think recently you were in Mumbai only doing some workshop also around the same topic. So given your personal experience, how do you integrate your personal experiences into your professional life, and how has it influenced your approach to leadership and your collaboration within the workplace?
To give you some context, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2016. And, I didn't know what I was going through, because what happens with bipolar disorder is you have sort of, your highs and your lows. So the highs are hypomanic episodes, and the lows are your depressive episodes. And then there are these psychotic breaks that happen, so psychosis, where you have a break from reality and you don't make any sense to the world around you. And that has happened to me thrice over until my medication has been sorted, and therapy sort of really helped me. And I now work with a community of 600 people in the country. It's called the bipolar community, and there's a subset called the Let's Walk Together, where we're sort of looking at helping people with bipolar disorder or any mental illnesses find the roles, because they are high functioning individuals themselves and carry much more biases. It's founded by a very eminent person called Vijay, who's also, a bipolar patient himself. What I realized, and this is not just true for me, but true for the community, because I've been sort of working with them very closely, is that people with bipolar disorder have a much more heightened sense of self-awareness. Everyone's able to say, whether they're going through their manic episode or hypomanic episode, or whether they're, depressive and low. So there's that heightened sense of self-awareness that even I am able to sort of carry back into the workplace. So
Mm,
one of the things I've really, really, really worked on is emotional intelligence.
mm,
Also because, I don't think I lacked of it, but when I had those episodes, I definitely wasn't being my best self.
mm,
And that means that, I have to always sort of work on my emotional intelligence. And one of the things I want to sort of be is sort of calm and
mm,
collected and competent, but at the same time, sort of even, I don't want to be an unpredictable person as well for my team, for my, sort of colleagues, etc. So that's something that I work on almost a daily basis, in terms of figuring out, where I am in that pendulum, and how do we sort of, bring me back to base, if you will. So if I am hypomanic, I sort of have a tendency to take on many projects, and then I have to cull them down to, 3 projects. When I'm depressive, I don't want to do anything. I just want to sort of lie in bed, veg out. And again, it's more about, sort of taking action. Counterintuitively, during depression, you feel like not getting out, but counterintuitively, the remedy for depression is action.
Mm.
So it's more around, at least doing one thing that spurs you to do the next thing, etc. So I guess what I bring back is heightened self-awareness, and every day a sort of work towards sort of displaying emotional intelligence at the workplace.
Wow, Dasha, this is, and what I like is we have people like senior leaders like you, or people, it's just good people are talking about it, sharing about it, because more people who hear about it, you're right, this is something that you don't even realize if you're suffering from it. And if you are, you don't even know who to reach out to. So when you have more relatable people talk about it, people are like, oh, maybe I relate to these things, and I can, reach out, or like also go through the proper channels of help and get better. Because if she can do it, he can do it, I can do it too. Like, it's not end of the road. So it's always commendable when we have people openly sharing about their real selves and their real life with people. This also leads me to another thing that you do, Asha, which is, women at the workplace. And I've been a part of the community. And what commendable work you do there in terms of just your commitment to supporting women, or just, I see you're so active in giving very true and honest advice. It's not just very wisdomy, but it's very practical, something which one can implement. So what made you start it, and what impact do you see it creating?
So I actually was very fortunate. So when I was in Ahmedabad in Gujarat, as a CFO for Shell's gas business, I was sort of offered this chairperson role for Confederation of Indian Industries, Indian Women Network for Gujarat. I mean, that was sort of a voluntary position, and Shell sort of also encouraged me to take it up. And then I went on to become the co-chair for the Western region, driving some national initiatives. In that role, I was exposed to a lot of the research that I just mentioned around, systemic disadvantages women face at the workplace.
Mhm.
In May 2021, when I joined Leap, it was fairly new. I was looking up the micro communities in the app and realized there was nothing for women at the workplace in general.
Mhm.
So I decided, I sort of just created a group. It's almost like reading a WhatsApp group, but on the app. But I was sort of astonished at how quickly it grew. It grew to 1,000 plus, people in the micro community. And now Leap's also gone through some changes. So now it's called Circles, and it's a WhatsApp group. But what that gave me is true insight into women's dilemmas on a day-to-day basis as well. And that's a powerful sort of insight that no research can give you. We talk about everything from toxic workplaces, to balancing work-life balance, issues, setting boundaries, again, dealing with these biases, breaking the boys club. We talked about it even yesterday. I mean, I thought this was something that we embedded a long time ago, but yesterday we had a conversation about somebody not finding it comfortable to join men, in their evening, their ada with drinks, etc. Right? So there's a lot women go through, and a lot they have to sort of juggle. And I guess this is a forum where everyone, we kind of provide a safe forum for everyone to share what's happening. And what I love about this group is it's not just me, right? Everybody comes with, one, they validate each other. Two, they provide an empathetic sort of response, where nobody is judged. We just sort of, sharing our own experiences and how we navigate it. So it's essentially sort of a forum to support women through some of the sort of challenges that they encounter at the workplace and outside.
Yeah, you're right. It's a solid community. And like you said, it's not just about that advice, but it's about validating also. And you feel like, oh, I'm not the only one who goes through this. This is common. There are like more people who are talking from a place of experience to you. So
Yeah.
that's like a very nice go-to community for women, I would say. And
Mm-hmm.
this leads me to a related thing, which vision boarding. So this was, I did it first time with you when you conducted this workshop in Mumbai in Taj. And
Yeah.
I see that, yes, it's a great starting point for you to, start working towards your goal and just to have more clarity around your goals and how do you want to get to those. And
Yeah.
I've seen you beautifully conceptualize and implement those. So maybe share something about how did you like sort of stumble upon this vision boarding? How did you make it a part of your life? And how you're just spreading it around in the community now? And what sort of transformation you see in women who are who take this up, seriously, or then they just implement it more seriously?
Again, I told you that May 2021 was when we started deep and we did disparate sessions. We had a lot of conversations, etc. And what I realized is no two women are alike. No two women have the same set of aspirations, the same context, etc. I think, for men, it's a bit more easier. They come into the workplace, they want to kind of, sort of climb up the corporate ladder. For women, it's almost, something called a squiggly career, right? We've got so much going on, and success to different women is very different. So, I have a lot of friends who've said, I'm going to take a break from the workplace because for me, my most important priority is my child, and providing for my child, and being there as a primary caregiver for my child. So, and variations of that to, women who are like, no, I want to get ahead in the career, irrespective of, what my family has, etc. So, we're all very differently wired, and what I realized is everyone's goal is not the same. And therefore, the concept of the vision board started with a Goa retreat of 8 women. We went over a weekend. We just sat there, created our life boards, our vision boards. It all comes from the context of manifestation. But this is a little bit more than that. It's more around understanding what your life board is, what your everyday joys is. Then you kind of go into your career, look at what your goal for your career is, what your superpowers are, what your blockers are, and most importantly, what your actions and how do you want to sort of take it forward as well, right? So that's really critical because you can manifest all you want, but you have to sort of, create a life that sort of, where you intentionally work towards your goals. That also means that, and also the other thing is we restrict it to some 3 actions, so that you're not sort of overwhelming yourself as well, and then sort of creating atomic habits that become automatic habits with accountability partners. We've kind of taken it one step further this year. We've created 2 cohorts. One is a Empower Her cohort and a Leadership Accelerate cohort. It's a 4-month program with about 7 modules. And again, it's more around first, you career vision board, but ultimately it's about also a cohort of 10 women each. We go through each module for about 2 weeks. One is just the theory of it, the framework, but more importantly, the micro missions to implement some of this in the workplace as well, including how you show up, what's your personal brand like, and all of that, your SWOT, what are your strengths, opportunities. And we also know that it's a 70-20-10 approach, right? It's only 10% that you learn training because you'll forget. 20% is social learning, which is a cohort, and 70% is, on the job. So these micro missions are all of this, implemented back at the workplace, and then reflections around that. And we
Right.
stay with these people for 4 months and hyper personalize it for them. So we are sort of, how do I put it, experimenting and seeing what the community wants and trying to sort of,
Right.
service the community as best as we can, and in as personalized a fashion as we can.
Wow. Actually, that's like you said, those micro missions. And I love the split also. Yeah. Theory, yes, social learning, but 70% comes down to you really living it
On the
and
job.
implementing at your workplace and in your personal life. So, and
Yeah.
what also helps, I've seen with the vision board, like you said, each to their own, it's like very different. Someone may have those taking care of the child bit taking precedence for some part of your life. It's just about being clear with your choices and actually being happy with, oh, I made this choice and it's on my own terms, rather than getting influenced by
Absolutely.
any unconscious or conscious biases yourself, and putting, like, you said in the start of the conversation, putting that pressure on yourself to prove it again. So maybe
Yeah.
it's
And
not
we're always trying to be super women with 20,000 things, right? So with the vision boarding, also you're clarifying what is it that you want to do,
true.
and vis-a-vis what society wants you to do.
Yeah. So
So that also helps. Yeah.
So this leads me to my last question, Asha. This has been a great conversation so far. And my last question is about, what would be your advice to women at the workplace? Because we see that still in India, we continue to be the primary caregivers. We may be able to afford all the help, but we are always, one instance away from a firefighting drill kicking in. And usually it's the woman of the house who has to sort of manage those things, be it for your, small children or your aging parents or whatever the home dynamic may be. So what advice would you leave them with?
So we've kind of touched about 110 women now so far. And I would like to say that 70% of the community is still looking for partners. It might be the age, but we're talking early 30s and things like that. So what is also happening is we are so competent, and I think we intimidate a lot of men as well. And that's a really critical insight that I'm kind of figuring out, because the moment you're trying to fix your personal life, you take away from your career as well, right? Because you're sort of expending your mind space to find the right partner, etc. So that's a new issue that's coming up over and above the three M's.
Hmm.
um so that's an insight that's very new, very recent. I mean, I've been seeing it, but statistically it's now becoming an overwhelming majority.
Hmm.
And the second is, like you said, in terms of elderly family care, the women wanting to sort of kick in and do everything for their parents, their, family, etc. I think the only thing that I would say is step back and know your boundaries, and know your boundaries with a relationship, even while you're trying to find a partner. Know your boundaries with your family. If you have like kids and husbands and elderly family care, everyone can demand a lot of time and attention and take, us for granted. So it's really important to sort of fix those boundaries for us,
Hmm.
to know yourself and know your expectations. What are the things you enjoy doing, and what is it that you want to spend time doing?
Hmm.
Three, delegate everything else. So I always say, at the house you can delegate everything from housekeeping to sort of cooking to a nanny to, sort of even a tutor. So we found a tutor for my child very many years ago, because we're not really good at sitting with her and studying. Then it comes down to what's the most important, which is spending quality time with the family. And some people say, oh, I love to cook. Yeah, sure, you love to cook. You can always go to the kitchen and cook whenever you want, but don't make it a chore, sort of delegate to a cook. Similarly, in the workplace, what can you delegate? What can you negotiate? What can you give away? Because women tend to do a lot of the office housework as well, which is not value adding, which is not promotable. So
Hmm.
again, what can you redelegate? What can you negotiate? So
Right.
boundaries is very, very important, I think, to sort of survive. And then any exigency, we should always say this too shall pass. And therefore, hang in there. Don't think you have to sort of leave everything, make
Yeah.
it work, time block for specific things, but ultimately know that whatever is the exigency, it will pass.
That's actually a very bang on advice, Asha, that whatever it is, it shall pass, and hang in there, setting your boundaries in the process. This has been a great conversation, Asha. Thank you so much. And like always, I always just go with, so lot of interesting tidbits whenever I'm in a conversation with you. And I'm hoping my audience also finds the same after listening to this conversation. So,
Thank you so much for having me, and it's always lovely to connect.
yeah. All right. Thanks, Asha. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.